So the console wars haven't made much sense to me since the 16-bit era. And I have to tell you, those were the days, right? When you would actually argue with each other on the playground mostly, but you would argue back and forth to each other about what were essentially large companies duking it out. And I think a lot of that had to do with the companies actually participating themselves. That helped a bit. Now it's not like that at all. All these companies are very nice to each other, congratulate each other and everything. And occasionally they'll throw shade on each other and stuff, much like we saw with PlayStation, Microsoft, and the Xbox One at E3 2013 when they were leading up to the launch. I think a lot of it had to do with Sony feeling like they had to do something after the PS3 to take over control over the market, and they had to go back to their 90s roots and give Microsoft a couple of jabs, and it worked. It did. But something that's still just really weird to me, and maybe it's just because I've gotten older, this whole console war thing when it comes to opinions about games, to the point where we have what's in front of you now. This is Metacritic. It's Astral Chain. Now, Astral Chain came out today, and I would wager that most people who got a chance to pick it up today have not beaten the game yet. It's not like a 4 or 5 hour game or anything. It's going to take you a bit more than that. And most people probably picked it up throughout the day, maybe when they're getting off work or school, or they just had a chance to run up there when the store opened. Most of the stuff being left here isn't, I would say, probably from people who have played either a significant portion of the game or the game at all. That's the weird thing to me. And what seems to be happening here, as you can see right in front of you, 388 positive, 7 mixed, and 132 negative reviews. Now, I have played actually a fair amount of Astral Chain so far today, and I can tell you now, this game is not a 5 or below, or a 6, or even a 7. Definitely not a 0. And what's odd to me is there are several 0 scores in here. I would not give a game that at least boots up a 0. 0 has to be that the game doesn't even start, to me anyway. But let's check some of these out. I think they have sorted these by most recent, I'm going to assume. Some of these are in different languages, which I guess I'll skip those ones. But there's a 7, there's a 10. So here's what appears to be happening. For example, PS3 Fan 2, says fantastic graphics, but everything else is really mediocre, outright poor. Go buy Devil May Cry 5 or Bayonetta for a true action game experience. Gameplay is worse than near. Okay, so the weird thing about that, I would say the game's weakest point is probably its resolution and its visuals, but not its art style. I think the direction of the art and everything is good, but I'm sure there'll be some kind of technical analysis, because I can see it too. Like there's aliasing and everything all over the screen. It's not a game that is on a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X. It's not 4K and all of this stuff, and most of us who are going into it understand that, right? So I don't get that one, fantastic graphics or anything, and that's what I mean. It seems to be people who probably haven't played the game. Now, on the flip side, it appears that people have noticed this, and they have turned in a number of 10s. So here's the thing. I also don't think Astral Chain's a 10. It's not a 0. It's not a 4. I don't think it's a 10 either, though. And you're about to see a number of 10s, and a lot of them are like literally a perfect game. So glad it's exclusive only to Nintendo Switch, and that's all right. We'll just go by that one. That's what I'm kind of reading in these user reviews, and that's why user reviews are just not taken that seriously. It's because it becomes a battleground. It's the weirdest thing. I don't understand. You know what I was doing while most of these people are probably posting these user reviews? I was playing the game. So you kind of get the idea here, and Metacritic doesn't even really pay attention to these that much either. It almost makes me wonder if there's as much of a point, because it doesn't really serve as much purpose. Finding a useful review in here is tough. It really is. But I guess we'll take a shot here. Let's see. What would I think would be a fair? Look how many 10s there are. Yeah, so there's a lot of people recognizing, as you can see, review bombing, so they leave messages in there. I'm trying to think of what I would give Astral Chain right now. I think because I'm so early in the game still. I mean, I'm not early. I'm like 6 or 7 hours in. But I would say with my experience so far, probably between an 8 and a 9, to be fair, right this second. I mean, things could change. The story could get terrible or something. I've seen a lot of 10s. So there's a 0. It's another language. I'm not sure. 0, 0, 0, 0. Here's one. It says, awful. Do not recommend. The combat is not as cool as the trailers made it seem. Characters are boring and uninspired. The controls are hit and miss. Do not buy. Hyper Beam. It's a rare occasion that I have complete disdain for something while also have heavy admiration for its creators, but here that only serves to heighten my dissatisfaction. Astral Chain is inadequate because, while not bad, it has glaring obvious faults. It seems to go on with them struggling with the combat, I guess. It's all right, so I actually can comment on that a little bit in my impressions video when it comes to the combat and controls. Number of 10s, there's a 1. They compare it to Nier. Okay. There you go. It was a good try, though. Maybe in a better platform with not that many limitations. So basically the Switch. Like I said, it appears that there are just two different mindsets from what I'm seeing here. It's on one extreme or the other extreme. And so far I've scrolled down. I really haven't found anything with actual like substance to it. And again, you kind of see why there's 30. Okay, someone's putting out 30 frames. You can kind of see what I mean when it comes to the, like, just user scores just aren't taken that seriously. And it has turned into basically the playground that I remember, where we would argue about the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. There's a 10 and a 0. There's another 10 and a 0. Oh, I saw an 8. And there's a 9. Yeah, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. A lot of 10s. I think it's mostly people trying to bring the score back up because it dropped to like a 6 or something. Okay, here we go. This one, all right, so this is a 9. Stylish action, check. Stylish soundtrack, check. Beautiful story, again, another check. Astral Chain hails in it being easily Platinum Games' best game to date. I might have actually liked Nier a little better so far, but they're both good games. While seemingly dropping their usual humor, that's also saying it's better than Bayonetta, by the way. While seemingly dropping their usual humor, not to say it doesn't have jokes, and opting for a more story-driven experience, seemed to be a right move for the new IP. While admittedly, see, okay, this seems like a fair review. See, this is a good review. It took me to the second page to find it. And they say they haven't finished the game yet, but they are enjoying it. They also point out a few flaws, and then they also bring in Devil May Cry and Bayonetta as comparisons. Okay. See, that's a fair review, but it's buried in all of this. And that's what I mean. You don't really see a lot of good reviews when it comes to... Apparently TCL, by the way, 4K is having a sale as low as $229.99. You don't really see a lot of, this is big blue banner is, you don't see a lot of these type of reviews, and this one was good. So good job, Bento Box, on that. But it is just a weird thing to me. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, I don't know, but review bombing seems like a waste of time. You could be playing the game instead of leaving, I guess, reviews and basically a numbered score. So I wouldn't even give numbers to a review anymore because it makes no sense. How do you even take your thoughts and put it into a number? I'm not sure. I say either recommend it or not and leave it there. But there you go, guys. Review bombing still happening. 2019. Yes, that's fun. Oh, it's only going to get better. Next week, Gears 5 comes out. You think this is bad? Man, that's going to be even worse. I'll see you guys next week when apparently Gears 5 gets review bombed. No, this was just an interesting thing. I saw it. Didn't make sense to me. Got a second channel, so thought we'd take a look at it. Thanks, guys.